right, hey guys, it's Jonathan Edwards, and I want to welcome you to another episode of our podcast video, whether you're watching me on YouTube or on iTunes or you're watching the website. Thanks for watching. And I always like to know who's watching, so do me a favor, leave me a comment, hit the like, hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode. You know, if you're here, I hope that you have an athlete in your life, around your life, who's got big athletic dreams. And, I want to talk today about an unfortunate bit of news that I got today. Sky Brown, who is, you may or may not know who that is, but she's an 11-year-old skateboarder from the UK. Born in Japan, lives in the US, from the UK. It's kind of complicated, but she's a talent, and she is an outlier. Like I wrote about that in my book, In an Athlete's Guide to Winning in Sports and Life, that, sometimes athletically we have outliers, and it's really important if you're not that outlier to compare yourself. But Sky Brown is a prodigy. She's an early adopter, like however you want to describe her. She's going to be in the Olympics, and had the Tokyo Olympics happened in 2020, like they were about to happen, she'd be there for the UK, which is pretty incredible. So from a high performance athlete standpoint, I want to discuss that first, because unfortunately today she had a really bad crash. And so from the title of this video, you're here because the question came up was like, was her crash a form of child abuse? And so first thing first, I want to talk about the high performance aspect of an athlete like Sky Brown. This is awesome. Like there's no other way to put it. What we're seeing with an athlete like Sky Brown is we're really seeing the brain's ability, the body's ability to just tap into the subconscious mind and make stuff happen. What's great is that young athletes typically have very thin, what we call like analytical mind, right? So their conscious mind, they see something they want to do, and they may watch a YouTube clip, and then they're going to go right out to the park and they're going to try it. And what we're seeing with her is that she's doing that at a level that really hasn't been seen before. Although in a sport like skateboarding, there's a lot of examples of athletes who get to a very high level very quickly at a very young age. And for parents and coaches that are in other sports that have, later adaptations, this can seem a little weird. It can seem a little out of the park. Like, oh my God, she's just 11. Like she's, how is she doing that? Who's letting her do that? Like, why? She doesn't have a helmet. Like what? All those doubts and fears starts to pop in if you're not familiar with that type of potential in that sport. Now, what's really fascinating to me about Sky is that kind of that brain, that analytical mind barrier that is just looks like it's just missing. It's just gone. It hasn't been installed in an athlete like her yet. And so she's doing incredible tricks. She's winning Dancing with the Stars. She's competing at X Games, and like I said, she would have been an Olympian this year, and the UK's youngest Olympian ever, which is just fantastic. So from a high performance standpoint, sometimes with skateboarding in particular, it's a difficult sport. Although I like to say, like I remember watching Jerry Seinfeld in Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. I believe it was one of the episodes with Jimmy Fallon, where he talked about, he goes, when people yell at kids who are skateboarding and they think they're not going to be able to do anything with their life, he goes, you see those kids doing tricks and falling down and getting up and doing the same, doing it again and again and again, and coming up with a solution. Those kids are going to be just fine. And I believe that. Like in my next book, I'm writing about the type of attitude that comes from sports, that idea of like accepting a challenge and then finding what you need to do to make that happen. That's what an athlete like Sky Brown gets me really excited about seeing, is because there's no filter, right? She's just going out, she's trying something, and she's doing it. Now, the difficult thing that comes around from being an outlier like that is that she's now an example to all these other athletes coming up, whether they're skateboarding or not. And that's where in a sport like skateboarding, which is very marketable, okay? So what I mean by this is that there's a lot of peripheral product being moved around skateboarders. There's skateboards, there's trucks, there's wheels, but there's t-shirts, there's hats, there's all sorts of gear and good stuff, right? And there's a lot of money flowing. And so when that happens, there's typically adults involved, okay? there's adults involved. And so very quickly that athlete becomes an asset, right? It is literally a marketable asset. So we then move from just the pure athletic example into now something where, if we package this the right way, then there's gonna be a lot of people making a lot of money. Okay, now some people really get upset about that. And I don't, but I'm aware of it, and I want my athletes to be aware of it too. Because on one level, you should be able to profit from your athletic ability, okay? There's a battle in the NCAA about that. I just believe that, hey, you know what? This is your tool of the trade. You should be able to market that if that's up to you. But that takes adults to make that happen. Like, you're not learning how to market yourself when you're 11. Now, what happened today was, I believe she was in California at an indoor skate ramp, and she's trying to transfer from one ramp to the other. And she stalls out in midair and basically falls from what looks like 15 feet onto concrete. This is where I have a problem, okay? So when adults are around kids, all right, when adults are providing mentorship and guidance to kids, here's what happens is that with high performance athletes, it is a fine line. We are watching an athlete do things that nobody has really seen before. And we don't necessarily want to stifle that. And I don't want to stifle that either, okay? I think we have to be careful of what we allow the public to see sometimes with a young athlete, but I'm going to get to that in a second. We, as coaches, we want to push performance. That's what we do. That's why we're here, but we do want to do it safely, right? The worst case scenario is when we see somebody who gets mortally injured, and that almost happened today. Like, Sky fell, hit her head, and luckily was wearing a helmet, but got medevaced out and went to the hospital and all sorts of stuff like that. So as coaches around an athlete like this, it's a little uncharted territory, right? Unless the coach has already had a previous athlete like her, that they know what to do, what not to do. What you can do with an athlete like that, though, is you can protect them. And you can protect them from people, places, and things, right? So if you're the parent involved here, if you're the coach involved here, you want them around good influences, you want them around good examples. That's the people side of it. Things, what goes into their body, the equipment they're using, those are the things in their life. The places, where are they? What training environments are they going to be in? What physical environments are they going to be in? And this is where I think the adults in this situation failed miserably. Okay, now this is probably a trick she's done before. She probably has done things that are more difficult than what she tried today. But but there's no excuse to not protecting that environment so that if something goes sideways, she's safe. Now, that's not always possible, okay? I was at the Vancouver Olympic Games where we had an athlete die in the sport of luge on that track there, so I've lived firsthand the convergence of high performance where everybody's just trying to go bigger, faster, stronger, and we had an athlete who hit a metal pole and flew out of the track, hit a metal pole and died. You can't protect for everything, but in this particular case, there's a glaring omission to me that doing a transfer with no sort of like crash pad underneath her is just stupid, okay? And I use that word like very directly. It was stupid. And so that bothers me in this case. We want an athlete to be able to be bigger, faster, stronger, and fly higher. We want that, but we can do it in a safe environment. And we have examples of that in a whole lot of other sports, right? Gymnasts jump into foam pits. We've got motocross riders doing like triple flips, quadruple flips onto inflatable landing pads. There's no reason why that shouldn't have been there today. So that's one thing, that's a glaring omission to me. So is that child abuse? Well, in the form of like, no one was doing anything to her, like aggressively, but the support staff around her was not putting her in an environment to fly high, but to protect her if she fell. Okay, and that's what happened today. The big thing I have that struck me about the news today and that bothered me was that the video that went out after the fact. And this is what makes me worry, that there's people around this athlete that don't have her best interest in mind, and that just, or maybe have her best interest in mind, but they're driven by the marketability of this. Is the video that went out to the public was not some micro clip off of a phone showing her miss this transfer and then fall. As a matter of fact, that video didn't actually show the impact on the ground. Whoever was getting the video got caught up in the moment and went to go help her, which is the critical thing to do there. But the video that went out then was edited, and it had a clip to the medevac helicopter, and then a dramatic pause, and then a clip to the ambulance, and then a clip to her in her bed, in the hospital, with a message to her fans. And I almost think that what she read there was scripted, and there's music behind it. That is crap to me, okay? That shows me that the people around at that moment have lost the script, okay? That message was not to athletes to empower her to, an 11-year-old can say that they're gonna come back bigger, faster, stronger, but that athlete does not truly know the impact of those words out to their audience. Heck, they don't even know the impact on themselves, okay? And so as high performance coaches, we almost want the athlete to live in that bubble of belief a little bit, right? We want that because we don't want to ruin this, the potential. But what happened today was a bunch of adults, in my opinion, who weren't thinking about potential. They were blinded by it, right? And the fact that she wasn't protected enough to have that crash is just ridiculous, okay? So I give I'm all about, pushing the boundaries in high performance coaching, but what happened today was wrong. And the video that went after that was even worse, okay? Was even worse. So I want people to watch that and go, you know what? All right, that needs to change, okay? So I don't want to get too heated because I can get a little heated on this, but I hope this, if you've got an athlete, this is what I want to leave you with though, is that when you have a high performance athlete that's pushing boundaries, we want to see that. We want to embrace that because that really is the message of what's possible. When an athlete can really see something they want to do and accomplish it in a very short amount of time, we all have that capability, but along the way, the more experienced minds can protect that athlete. And that's what didn't happen today. And so that's the thing that I want to share with everybody is that we don't want to hold our athletes back, right? We don't want to hold our athletes back. We really want to see them push that limit, but we do need to keep them safe, and that didn't happen today. So listen, if you have a thoughtful comment, all right, one that's not filled with hate and one that's not filled with, bad language, I may allow you to post it below, okay? But if you have a thoughtful, comment, feel free to post it below, or you can email me, coachedwards@athletespecific.com. I want our athletes to push it. I want to see that, but we got to do it safely. Now, if you've got an athlete who's 11 years old and doesn't skate anywhere near like Sky Brown does, know that the game is long-term, not short-term. And you can't compare yourself to an outlier, especially like this. This is great, but it's also dangerous in some ways, all right? This is where, I don't necessarily like age limits on participation, but, right now, at 11 years old, going to the Olympics could probably have waited another 4 years, all right? But again, not as marketable. Just gonna leave you with that. So thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon. Take care. Bye now.